weight. The bar's got that swing. Glasses clink, hear the ice cubes sing. Liquid lunch, pour it smooth, let it flow. Friends round the table where the good times grow. Raise a glass, let the worry slip away. Liquid lunch, we're living for today. There's Troy laughing with his gin and a grin, telling stories about where he's been. Boomer's got whiskey, he's loosening his tie, chasing dreams under a midday sky. The bartender knows us, he's mixing with flair. Every sip's a moment we're happy to share. Liquid lunch, pour it smooth, let it flow. Friends round the table where the good times grow. Raise a glass, let the worry slip away. Liquid lunch, we're living for today. The clock don't matter, we're lost in the vibe. Jazz in the air, feel the soul come alive. From martinis to bourbon, we're riding the wave. Stealing this hour, it's the freedom we crave. Sun's still shining, but we're in our zone. This bar's our shelter, our temporary home. One more round before the world calls us back. Savor the moment, keep the blues in the rack. We'll laugh and we'll toast till the afternoon fades. Memories made in these liquid escapades. Liquid lunch, pour it smooth, let it flow. Friends round the table where the good times grow. Raise a glass, let the worry slip away. Liquid lunch, we're living for today. So here's to the daylight, the drinks and the fun. Our liquid lunch, till the next one comes. With a wink and a smile, we'll be back real soon. Chasing that jazz under the high noon.
Salud and welcome. Welcome to this pre-recorded liquid lunch. Yes, I am having my liquid lunch on Sunday in preparation in recording this to share with all of you on the regular slot on Monday because I have a doctor's appointment. Well, actually I'm having a minor procedure done. So I really cannot be here live on Monday for liquid lunch. However, please, and actually, I had thought about should I pre-record this and just make it an upload, schedule an upload, and then I thought no, I'll make it a live premiere because this way, I mean, just because I'm not here doesn't mean you guys can't all get together for liquid lunch and say hi to each other and encourage one another, because I think that's probably the best part of these liquid lunches. A lot of you have told me that, so that's why I'm doing it the way I am, assuming everything goes to plan. We'll see. So ordinarily, this is where I would be greeting all of you by name individually, but I can't do that because I don't know for sure who's going to be here. But Blue Wrenches, you kind of got the show today. Please make any guests that you don't recognize, if any new people stop by, make them feel welcome. And anyone who is new, the only rule is you can disagree all you want, but just be respectful, right? If we're going to be respectful of you, you got to be respectful of us, right? So let me get the elephant in the room addressed, okay? Last week I said twice, or two different streams I should say, I was not planning to see this at all. Why I am not going to see Superman 2025. I said that. And then during the live stream on Friday night, last call, Tom Connors of Midnight's Edge After Dark, Mead Radio, all of those channels are channels you should be following. They all have great content. Tom is somebody that I respect a great deal, and he kind of low key challenged me that I should really see this movie. I did give the argument, I did give the pushback that I generally give to people who make an argument or make a point or whatever that I really don't care for, and that is, well, you can't judge it if you haven't seen it. Now, wait a minute. I could judge the marketing. That's what the marketing is for, the previews and so forth. But then Tom made a point, not only in his comments on Friday, but in previous videos that I had seen, and it got me thinking about it, that a lot of the scuttlebutt around this movie was just fallacious. It was just absolutely lies, or incredibly exaggerated. And I did talk about that on Friday. I did bring that up. But in this instance, given who it was coming from, Tom Connors, and all this, I was like, you know what? Maybe I will give this a chance. Maybe I will give it a chance. I will check this out. Netter still refused to see it because of her reasoning. We'll get to that in a bit. And I'm not gonna I'm not gonna give any spoilers here. I'm gonna go through my pros, my neutrals, and my cons, and then I'll tell you where I come out at the end of this. So let's get into it. This is rough, not being able to interact with you guys. This is not how I wanted to do this, but it's necessary, and I think this is the first time I've ever pre-recorded a show like this. It's kind of strange. So I think it's appropriate to start with the good. I do think we talked about a lot of things that I've heard. A lot of people out there seem to like it. Let me talk about some of the things I liked. I did find myself smiling and doing the whole ooh kind of thing. But I'll get to that. So first, and forgive me, I don't normally do this, teleprompters and all that kind of stuff. But I do have notes in front of me that I pre-prepared for this because I wanted to keep it succinct. So there's a focus on protecting people. I was very clear that I was trying that the film was very clear that it was trying to counter the Superman doesn't care of the Man of Steel. As you remember, the Snyder Man of Steel got a lot of flack for just the destruction of Metropolis, and Superman made no effort or the so-called Superman made no apparent effort to save anybody. And they did comparisons to Superman 2, where in the exact same combat with the exact same, foes, Zod and Phantom Zoners, he realized that people were in danger and he led them out of the city, So, and so it's very clear that James Gunn, in this James Gunn Superman, written and produced by James Gunn, was addressing that here. He may have gone a bit far with saving the squirrel, but landing the woman on the roof, he says, just breathe, you're going to be all right. And then he gives her this really warm, genuine smile. It wasn't just Superman should smile more. So he smiles. It was genuine. And I think I'll get to it in another point. But David Cornsweet, he's got this character down. He really does. And the woman in the car on the bridge, he's like holding up I can't remember the building or whatever that was falling. And he turns and looks at her. And she's like, And she looks back and she sees him rising up out of the thing. Not a pose, not anything like that, but there was this bit of, you felt her gratitude, And I'm like, there you go. That's Superman, right? That's Superman. That's how you earn the hero cred, right? So also checking on everyone in the building. There's that one scene where he's like, is everyone all right? And he's literally turning his back on the danger behind him to do that, And everyone's like, yeah. And he's like, Okay, good. And he smiles. Again, very, very genuine, right? Then he turns his, attention back to the kaiju. And this is the line that a lot of people had a lot of problems with. I think you're misunderstanding this line. He turns around and says, hey, eyes up here. And then he shoots up, right? Again, the tagline for this movie is look up. And what's he doing? This is, I think, in this scene, he's getting the monster to change his focus from targeting the building, which is what he was doing. Hey, look at me, look at me. And I feel like this is somewhere between the apathy of the Snyder Man and Christopher Reeve completely leading the Phantoms owners out of the city. I don't think it's as easy to get Godzilla or whatever to follow you out of the city without causing a lot of danger too. But at least he was getting the focus away from the people and on him. So I'm going to say good on that one. I think a lot of people take that as, the whole, feminist, hey, eyes up here thing. No, yes, that might have been an intended side joke. That was not the point of the scene, though. Now, my next point, this could go bad, but the focus on social media, the out-of-context clips, and the reactions to this is kind of smart, especially the out-of-context clips, which I think directly is reflected in the way people are reacting to this movie. Just going to say, myself included, I mean, I do have to temper some of what I saw was not what it really was. We'll get to that. Of course, it comes from Gunn, who has a bone to pick in this area of social media and being demonized and stuff. But that's what it takes to address such a topic. But there's also a great underlying message of how quickly people are swayed 180 degrees on almost nothing, or will not be swayed by anything. So you can note the woman pulling her daughter away from Superman based on that really super weak evidence on the bulletin screen, right? Oh, he's Superman. Oh, he's great. Oh, someone said something bad about him. Let me get my daughter away from him. Yeah, and unfortunately, that's a little too real. That's a little too real. You want to say, oh, that's just bad writing. No, we see that on social media all the time. We really do. People are like that. However, it's a very good example of overcoming Superman's superpowers with manipulation and intelligence and not little green rocks, right? I mean, it does kind of show the intelligence of Lex Luthor and all of this, okay? Actually, I'm going to go off script here. I don't remember if I said anything about this. The whole thing with the monkeys, and whatnot and so forth, that everyone has said, yep, that's true. Yeah, I think that was kind of dumb. That was a stupid, shot at people, the bots. He could have just as easily made an AI point here with bots instead of, mutant monkeys to represent the trolls online. That was kind of stupid. But I will say this. There is a way that he can take those monkeys and turn them into something canon-related and cool going forward. And address the marketing and piss off everybody who didn't like crypto. And that's that one of those monkeys could end up becoming Beppo the Super Monkey if they decide to take that and run with it. That one's up to you, Warner Brothers. I don't claim anything of this. I don't need any royalties for it. Just do it if you chose to do that. Anyway, in context, the Mr. Terrific stuff was not as bad as the promos implied to me. The urban tone in his voice doesn't seem as bad in general. It's just that the one-liners out of context make him sound more Mr. T-ish. I mentioned before it was the Amazing Lucas video that I saw of his. I will link that again below. That's kind of where I got this impression of the Mr. T-ish, Mr. Terrific. in fairness to the YouTuber, he was going from what he had seen too, and drawing inferences based on the marketing, which is what marketing is supposed to be. If you get the wrong message across marketing, that's on you. Sorry, folks, but yeah, in context, it wasn't as bad as it seemed. I use the term shuck and jive, and I'm like, okay, in fairness, there's only a couple times that kind of seems to be, and that's at key lines, and it's his humor and the way Gunn uses him, I think, is not bad, but probably ill-advised. But there's also a great underlying message. Oh no, I'm sorry. I went back to the wrong point. It's just that the other one-liners, out of context, make him sound more Mr. T-ish. I'll get to some of the issues I have with it in the bad section, but there were a few shots that show off his guns, and I mean his arms, and he does get to show off his genius. There was a scene early on that made him seem not that smart, not that bright, but as the film went on, I'm like, okay, this guy is the intelligent, Lex Luthor's intellectual equal, as he is portrayed in the comics. And I felt like that wasn't getting across with our initial experience with him. Also, I mentioned the arm muscles because I think all the marketing shots make this guy look kind of on the thin side, and Mr. Terrific should be like the Black Superman. He should be buff. And there's a scene in the Hall of Justice, which I believe was shot on location in the station, the train station that inspired the Hall of Justice. He's sitting there and he's got his arms crossed and his arms are bulging, and I'm like, that's Mr. Terrific. So others have talked about the chemistry between Cornsweet and Brosnahan in the film and Holt's depiction of Luthor. That's 100% spot on. In fact, I could totally see these three depictions of the characters being the direct outgrowth of Smallville versions. Not literally in canon, not like the Lex Luthor that grew up with Clark and knows his secret identity, all that kind of stuff. But there's a lot of things about them in their portrayals that make me think of them that way. It's very clear that Gunn understands Luthor's motivations. Clark and Lois's relationship was dynamic, and it is how to portray them as in a compelling, emotional way. I don't mention it much in the bad side, but yeah, I think having Lex Luthor crying at the end might have been going a bit far. But I'm at the same time going to give plenty of grace to the scenes where you see Superman cry. I think they were appropriate. Look, it takes some editorial insight when you show a man cry. You want him to be vulnerable, but he also has to be masculine. And there's no reason to emasculate even the villain. I mean, Lex Luthor still needs to be a tough guy, right? And being the sharp, intellectual, kind of guy, I don't think he would break down. You should have seen gears turning. You should have seen gears turning rather than tears falling. Superman does not kill. Not only does Gunn write it that way, but he outright states it in dialogue, and he embraces it. Clark has his morality, and he lives it. He doesn't apologize for it, and he is genuinely shocked when anyone doesn't understand it. Superman doesn't kill because he doesn't have to. He's not Homelander. This is still an issue that the Snyder Bros have that they just can't get over. And this whole idea that, well, he killed back in the 30s. If you have to go back almost a century for an example of a character behaving a certain way, and he hasn't really acted that way ever since, maybe that's not a great example to say, well, they're following the source material, I think you could do the same thing, and we'll get into this in the bad section too. You can follow current source material and still make bad choices. You look at the whole breadth and history, and decide who the character is and why. And I think that, to his credit, that's what James Gunn did. And in all of the interviews that I've heard with him, the whole thing about the debate with Lois Lane, and I'm going to take it out of context, but I'm encouraging you to go check out that interview. Superman says he doesn't kill. That's what he believes. But Lois believes that sometimes it's okay to kill. It's a lot easier when you don't have the powers of a god to say, you know what, I need to pull out a gun to protect myself because it's a great equalizer. I'm a big 2A proponent. I believe that. If I had a daughter, I would buy her a pew-pew, and I would take her to the range, and I would make sure she knows how to defend herself. But Superman does not have to do that. He doesn't have... I mean, everyone he encounters is at a disadvantage to him. Now, he does eventually end up encountering people that are as powerful or more powerful than he does, especially in the course of this movie. But it doesn't change his morality. That's a hero. Not an anti-hero, not a villain. That's a hero. So there's the good. Let me get into some of the neutral, okay? Because there were some things that I was like, this could have been really good. This could have been really good, but you didn't stick the landing. So a lot of people are talking about that scene where he's with Lois. He's kind of at a down point. He's been hurt by people turning on him. And there's actually more to it than that. There's the message from his parents that hits him the wrong way and everything. And this is in the direct aftermath of the argument he has with Lois over the interview. Lois makes it very clear in this scene. That was Lois Lane, the reporter. Yes, it was Lois Lane who has strong opinions and disagreed with you, but at the same time, I was conducting it as a professional. You know, I was being very, distanced from it. This is Lois Lane now. This is your girlfriend, and I love you, And that was good. That was really good. You got this thing going on out there, and Lois like, is that something that you should... And Clark, and the one quote I'm going to make, he describes it as a dimensional imp. He goes, Guy Gardner has it taken care of. Now, I know a lot of people have been like, Superman wouldn't do that. He would still rush off. But I'm going to push back a little on that and say he knows what this thing is, this dimensional imp. Apparently, he doesn't see it as being dangerous. It's more of... I think he's describing it more as some sort of a light show. And Guy Gardner has this. If he didn't really believe Guy Gardner had it, he off and taken care of it. My problem with this scene is not that so much. It's WTF is a dimensional imp. I mean, the term makes me think of Mxyzptlk, right? But it looks like Starro. Now, if it was either one of those, yeah, Superman would absolutely have to be dealing with it. But I get the impression that wasn't the case. This was a scene that had a lot of potential, but no payoff, because it's never tied to anything else. The only thing it could possibly represent is, hey, it's just another day in Metropolis. There's always stuff happening. I think it was a wasted opportunity and probably would have been better left out, to be honest with you. I think that the planetary watch armor, it was colored like the LexCorp armor from so many previous iterations, which in turn was based on the Silver Age Lexor armor. I like that. However, it's so dark that they all look completely black until you see them in very, very bright light. I think they went too dark on those. They should have upped the Lex Luthor colors on them. There was no secret that they were his, private mercenary team, so there was no reason to downplay the fact they're LexCorp, Something I have not seen anyone else mention. I think it deserves to be mentioned, but also, again, doesn't stick the landing. Is there is this scene in the Pocket Universe, basically the prison dimension or whatever, Lex Luthor's prison dimension, and they move around on these gantries, whatever, and the mutant or whatever it is that is controlling it, like with a rudder, they're like, I don't know, white zombie creatures, and honestly, they appear to me to be direct allegories or allusions to Fritz Lang's Metropolis. You know, the pulling the lever statue, and the moving the hands of the clock and all that kind of stuff. If you've never seen Fritz Lang's Metropolis, you should check it out. It's public domain, so it's all over the place. You've at least seen scenes of it if you ever saw Queen's video for Radio Gaga. So check it out. I think it's a nod to Fritz Lang's Metropolis, which is appropriate for a Superman thing. But the way it was done, I thought was kind of meh. It's kind of a worthless Easter egg more than anything else. I think Easter eggs have to mean something and have some purpose. And narratively, I don't think it did. Now, I am going to do what I usually do. I'm going to break for station identification and the promos for what we got coming up this week. These are not paid commercials. This is just me promoting my other shows and other places that I will be throughout the week. And when we get back, we'll address the bad. And there are some bad, and I need to refill my glass and get ready for this. I'll see you on the other side of this.
You are watching Liquid Lunch, streaming every weekday at noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern. Let's sip together. This week on Live from Sparkwood and 21, an actress begins to adopt the persona of her character in a film as her world becomes nightmarish and surreal. Join us as we watch the first half of David Lynch's Inland Empire this Tuesday at 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern on Deleted Scenes and Affiliates.
Just why is Servalan bound for Sardos, a planet in the outer darkness of the galaxy? And is it worth Avon risking all their lives to find out? It's Moloch, this Tuesday on Last Call Presents Blake 7 at 10 p.m. Central, 11 Eastern.
It's Thursday night, and Netters Network talks to the streamers who have everybody talking. It's Thursday Things, Thursdays at 9 Central, 10 Eastern on Netters Network.
This week on Saturday Night at the Movies, life is like a box of chocolates as we sample the witty and thought-provoking Robert Zemeckis classic, Forrest Gump. Come watch along with us. The link to the live, off-platform stream of the feature will be provided in the chat on Netters Network Retro Cinema, Saturday at 9 Central, 10 Eastern.
Every Sunday evening, Aged Boomer and Papa Pacelli bring you the rundown of the week's geek news, or at least what they think is interesting. You may have heard about it somewhere else, but Boomer and Pacelli put a spin on it you likely won't hear anywhere else. It's Geeky Geezers, every Sunday evening at 8 Central, 9 Eastern.
We now return to our liquid lunch.
Salud, welcome back. Here we go. This is what I did not like. And I would say that almost all of these are things that I already didn't like just from the marketing. So, early summation, I didn't have to see this. I did because I was challenged to do so. Had to test my thoughts and my resolve and what other people have said to me. But bottom line, marketing is marketing, and if I got the wrong impression, that's on the marketing team. That's still on Warner Brothers. If they allowed the entertainment media to run with a false narrative, they should have nipped it in the bud, and they didn't. Be that as it may, let's get into it. I'll take them one at a time. First, why does Hawkgirl have Black Canary's sonic screech? This is not a power Hawkgirl has, but it is one that the character of Black Canary has. Are they amalgamating her character? Although, to be fair to Hawkgirl, she doesn't have a lot of screen time. She didn't really demonstrate her value in combat or anything, except she out and out assassinates a world leader. The hell? This is okay? Again, superheroes killing? Yeah, I'm surprised more people aren't talking about this. And yes, you could make arguments that we don't know much about this particular iteration of Hawkgirl. Hawkgirl's always been a warrior. She's been a this and a that. The whole movie was about superheroes getting involved in global politics. And then you do this? The only thing that can temper this is if maybe later on, in another movie or something, there's repercussions from that. But that wasn't cool. That was just not cool. I didn't even see that one coming. I didn't see that until I saw this movie. So we're already starting out worse than I expected. Before I saw this, and I mentioned this before I saw this film based on the Mr. Terrific scenes in the trailer, I was under the impression he was not as smart as the Mr. Terrific is supposed to be, and that there were annoying things about his character. Now, again, linked below is the Amazing Lucas video where he gives a breakdown of the exact trailer that I was talking about and why I think both he and I, separately, he doesn't know me from anybody, thought this, okay? This turned out to not be the case, but there is still a scene that greatly undermines him, and that's his introduction. I alluded to this earlier. Clark explains to Mr. Terrific what is going on and what his plan is and why, and Terrific says, "Come on, man," and kind of blows him off. He doesn't offer an alternative. He doesn't debate. He doesn't converse. Not a good introduction. When you're introducing a character, this would have been a great time when he should have said, "Clark, I understand where you're going with this. Let me suggest something else." Right? Also, come on, man. I mean, I'm not even going to say what comes to mind when I hear that phrase now. And let's just say I don't associate it with the most intelligent man in the world. I don't think that was wise. And further on this, I am not backing off the GD Mr. Terrific line. It's like his last line in the movie. Yes, I know it's meant as a nod to the GD Batman line from Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, but that is literally the seed of all that is wrong with modern comics, and especially the Snyderverse. The Snyderverse literally was trying to get the feel and tone and literally plot points of The Dark Knight Returns. And that is exactly not what you need to be doing. And considering that every other aspect of Superman that we've seen in this movie, the brightness, the he does not kill, the hope, the I'm a good man kind of stuff, are you trying to make these other heroes look less because of character things like this? Maybe. No, I don't think that much thought went into it. I think it was a way to introduce the GD Batman, but giving it to GD Mr. Terrific, which I think undermines his character. Again, he is supposed to be one of the most intelligent people in the DC universe, rivaling Lex Luthor, right? you really, I know this. I am not claiming to be an intelligent person. I know that I have failings. But these greater than human characters are meant to be something more. When you use vulgarity, it makes you look dumb. It makes you look unintelligent. It makes you look less intelligent. There should have been, just like Superman has a I don't kill rule, I really think it would have been wise to give Mr. Terrific an I don't swear rule. You know, I'm better than that. I've got better words that I could use. I would have loved to have seen him use some good $2 words. People go, what? What did he say? I think he swore. You know, and you could have made a joke out of it. They didn't do that. And this is the exact reason Netter would not watch this movie. Because that bothers her. And I understand why. She sees it as taking the Lord's name in vain. There is an argument to be made from a believer's point of view. There is also a theologian's perspective of how that is not what is intended by taking the Lord's name in vain. But what I can tell you very objectively is we don't care about your religion. You're religious, we don't care what you think. That's the message dropping the GD bomb does. Just saying it. Now, that brings us to the whole swearing thing in general. The GD was the worst, perhaps, but there was a lot more. Yes, the film was PG-13, but that's not a justification. In fact, that's part of the problem. By making this superhero film, for which you presumably want to build off of for future franchise revenue, particularly in toy sales, a rating that excludes anyone under the age of 12, you're missing the whole point. Now, I already hear, and I got a straw man because unfortunately you're not here to actually give me your argument. I have to make it up. But I'm guessing one of the things you're going to say is, well, you know, it doesn't preclude 12 and under from seeing it. It's up to the parents to decide. Yes, it is up to the parents to decide. But it's not PG. They didn't plan it to be child-friendly. They planned it to be teen and up. And therein lies the problem. Because who do you want buying the toys? The adult collector who are aging out of the market because they're aging out of life? Or the next generation to play with the toys? Think about why you are fans of these things in the first place. The Super Friends on Saturday mornings, right? The Adam West Batman, right? The old Silver Age comics, right? All the various cartoons, right? They were all geared towards children. Now, when you start getting into Superman and Batman, the animated series, they start hitting more mature themes, which made them appeal better to adults, but they were still very child-friendly. They didn't swear. It was television, right? That is what a Superman movie should be. There's no reason that Superman should be PG-13. It should have been PG. Just saying. Now, this is where this stream gets demonetized, because I'm not going to edit the phrase that I'm going to use. So if you want to leave me a super thanks, I'd greatly appreciate it. So speaking of children under 13, I don't appreciate the line, he's grooming us. That's incredibly inappropriate, incredibly unfortunate timing given the latest dust-up with the Epstein files. Not to mention, again, this is coming from James Gunn. I won't elaborate anymore, but I think you get the entire thing that I'm saying. And for those of you that haven't seen it, it's not really a spoiler, but it's Lex Luthor in an interview, I think he's being interviewed by somebody, explaining why Superman with nefarious, as he's putting it, nefarious megalomaniacal plans is not to be trusted. Well, what about all the good that he's done? Oh, he's grooming us for when he takes over as the benevolent dictator or whatever. That's the narrative that he's using. not a good turn of phrase. Not appropriate for a Superman movie. Sure, it came from the villain. Still shouldn't have been there. You could have gotten the implication across without using the phrase. Just saying. I'm not going to spend too much time on this next point because I've mentioned it many, many times before. Many other people have. Not just about this movie, but in all of our franchises, I'm sick and tired of race swaps. Perry White, by the way, I will say, the characterization of Perry White was spot on. I loved him as a character. I do not like the fact that they basically put him in blackface. That's what it is. When you race swap, you are essentially doing blackface. That's how I'm putting it. You don't like it? Comment below. Hit the thumbs down. That's how I feel. But they also did the same thing to Otis. Yes, we had Miss Tessmacher. I probably should have added Miss Tessmacher to the good of this this thing. And so I'm going to step out and go back and say something good about this movie. Miss Tessmacher, I loved her. She was wonderful. I'm not sure where they're going with her character after this, if they are going to use her again at all. But I really liked what they did with her. I'm not going to elaborate on that because that would probably be one of the biggest spoilers of the movie. But I did like her. On the other hand, Otis was not only race swapped, which I still have a problem with. I would have had less problem with it with this particular character, except he's just Otis in name only. The character that we saw of Otis when he was introduced, the only example we had, well, not the only example. He was introduced in the 78 Superman movie. But he has shown up in the comics since then. And they have kind of honored the role that he played in the movie. Let's put it this way. Otis was kind of a lackey to Lex Luthor, kind of a dumb, bumbling. He definitely, the humorous insert, right? Didn't bring a lot of value to Lex Luthor's gang, so to speak. So the comics went with still bumbling and foolish, but muscle. Went from, eating a lot of donuts, being heavy to, being, And so that idea of his, mountainous, bodyguard named Otis, I thought was a great adaptation of the character. That's not what this guy is. This guy is the middle management, and maybe just a little bit too smart for the Otis character. So it's probably less about the race swap with this character, but I still don't like it. It's still inappropriate in every single instance. I'm going to address another straw man because there's nobody here to actually, bring up this point. But I do not see Hawk as a race or ethnicity swap because, although it doesn't come up in the context of the film, if you really want to dig into the lore, Hawkman and Hawkgirl, later Hawkwoman, are characters that literally could be, kind of like Doctor Who, could be any racial phenotype and ethnicity. Without getting too much into the, comic book lore, you don't need to know who they are and how they are portrayed. Generation to generation can change. There's what do they call it in religion? Buddhism, reincarnation. There's a reincarnation aspect to them. And in fact, in the Silver Age incarnation, they were aliens from the planet Thanagar. So I would imagine Thanagarians can be as racially diverse as humans. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say about that. Yeah, tired of the race swaps. Now, this was a last minute add-in, and that was because I just thought about it today. I've been kind of chewing on this. This is a bit of a spoiler, but I think everyone kind of knows about it at this point. Superman gets a message from his Kryptonian father when he comes to Earth. Now, immediately you should be thinking about the crystal Marlon Brando and all the messages and so forth that we get from the first movie. But this one is a little bit different. He only gets the first half of the message. And Lex Luthor deconstructs the second half. And there is this temptation, like Darth Vader, I am your father, until Return of the Jedi came out and Yoda confirms, your father? He is. We had doubts. We thought Darth Vader was lying. So, coming from Lex Luthor could have been lying. But they gave some technobabble reasons from Mr. Terrific and some other characters, actually, explaining why. And it's kind of loosey-goosey, but it was James Gunn saying, just accept it. This is the message that, don't get hung up on the Lex Luthor lies thing. Okay, fine. And here's where we get into that comic accuracy, right? There's comic accuracy from the past, comic accuracy from what's most recent, and then there's the preponderance of the source material that you can draw on. This is comic accurate to Mark Waid's Superman right. It was also used in Smallville, and I didn't like it then either. This idea that Jor-El sees himself as almost a god, and by sending his only begotten son to Earth to save humanity, he should rule over them as a god. And yes, I do think that Birthright and Smallville and this movie do a good job of, no, that's not who I am. I am not here to conquer. I am here to, lead by example and inspire and to help where I can. To be a servant and not a master. And I think that this whole idea undermines the iconic Marlon Brando delivered line. They can be a great people, Kal-El. They wish to be. They only lack the light to show the way. For this reason, above all, capacity for good, I send them you, my only son. And I don't feel bad reading that line off a teleprompter, because that's how Marlon Brando presented it. He read it too, off a cue card. So I feel okay doing it. Yeah, that is, who is Jor-El, right? You don't need him to be this arrogant person, sending his son to rule Earth. That's what Zod is for. That's who Zod is. Jor-El is supposed to be the other guy. He's supposed to be the good guy who said, no, that's not right, and banishes Zod to the Phantom Zone. He's the one who goes against the arrogant Kryptonian Science Council and has compassion on his son and wants to save him. Would have saved himself and his wife if he could, but he was kind of bind there. And they need the story to happen. That's how it goes. Yeah, I don't care for this. I think it really undermines Jor-El, but this comes on to me as another example of how the entertainment industry hates fathers. Now, I say that when in the very same movie we have a great, wonderful depiction of Jonathan Kent. I think the casting was bad. I think the really hick-ish type parents was going a little overboard, but the heart is absolutely there. It's still absolutely there. So it did, at least in that regard, underscore the importance of fatherhood. So there's a give and take there. I don't forgive the bad because there was something good to offset it. I'm saying this needed to be spot on, and it wasn't spot on, and it missed in a lot of places. And it's for this reason that I'm not exactly looking forward to Tom King's Woman of Tomorrow, but I'm probably going to end up having to read it now after seeing this movie. So I am going to, real quick, go to a screen share. I've got this. Do I have this up and ready to go? Yes, I do. Share. There we go. Oh, I got to bring it up. There we go. So this is from, who is this from? Give me just a second. It's too small for me to read. I got to look up to do this. This is from Deadline. Okay, Superman powers to 217 million global opening. Jurassic World Rebirth roars past 500 million. Lilo and okay, so it's a box office weekend discussion, right? And by the time you're reading this, and I've set up the stream, you will have this article cited below, as well as a video from WDW Pro that talks about this article. Their video is titled "Collapse in International Box Office, James Gunn Gets Kryptonite Overseas, Domestic Slows." There's also I didn't watch it, but I know that Valiant Renegade has a video up about it. Valiant Renegade is generally really good on these numbers. WDW Pro really digs into the numbers on this one. I don't want to get that far into it. I want to give you the Cliff's Notes. It did not do well overseas. And if the rationale behind ditching Truth, Justice, and the American Way is to go after international audiences, you're not doing it. It doesn't help you any, because the international audience was not interested in this. It doesn't look good internationally. And there was a longer international weekend. It started earlier overseas than it did here. And I'll tell you something else. The media is trying to spin this as left versus right, MAGA versus liberal. And I think that's a false narrative as well. I think that whether you vote Republican or you vote Democrat or you vote independent, you love your country. You are an American. And you may disagree with your political opponents on philosophy and how to do what's best for the country, but you still love your country. And Superman should stand for truth, justice, and the American way. And honestly, this whole movie, the whole thing where he's getting lambasted for getting involved in an international war, and the global politics of that, very much what we've been fighting about. He could be literally a stand-in for the United States, if you want to get allegorical about it. That's a perfectly legitimate debate for us to have. Should the United States get involved in this foreign war and that foreign war just because they're our allies, or just because it furthers our interests, or just because whatever reason they have WMDs, we've got to stop them because we get to decide, apparently. Everyone has differing opinions on that. And Superman would have to deal with that too. He is a superpower of one man, as opposed to a superpower of one country, right? So I think that's a justified thing to talk about. And as it turns out, it's not looking like this movie's doing particularly worse in red states or red communities. Just saying. I think that everyone across the board is tired of this anti-Americanism. I think that is the one thing that could unify us if entertainment industry would get their collective butts out of their rears and start looking at that. Did I cover everything that I wanted to cover in these notes? I just brought up the wrong notes. Domestic. Oh yes, that was the other thing too. Domestically, at least this is what WDW Pro was getting into. It didn't do as well as they had anticipated, not as well as it really needs to do, and I'm betting that Valiant Renegade gets into this, that it's going to matter what happens this next weekend, whether or not it has legs. Generally, a movie like this can do mediocre first week, but if it gets great word of... Excuse me. It's the vino, I think. Hold on. I settled the stomach a little bit. If a movie does well with the audience, and then they give good word of mouth, things could buck up the second week. I think there were a lot of people like myself who said, I'm not going to see it. I don't want to see it until, I hear some reviews, concerns. And if those people have concerns that are alleviated by what they hear, the second week they may just turn up, and make it a big hit. I do think this movie is going to do well enough to justify continued James Gunn movies and TV shows and whatever's already in the can. I think Supergirl's already in the can. We're definitely getting that no matter what. But my hope is that the people at Warner Brothers actually start paying attention to all of this feedback, this free feedback they are getting from YouTube channels like myself and Midnight's Edge and WDW Pro and all of these outlets. Pay attention to what people are saying. If you try to please all of the people, you will end up pleasing nobody. You must always please your fans first, which all of these people who have problems with this are fans. Okay? Listen to your fans, don't vilify your fans. And then secondly, think more abstract. What would a general audience feel about this? If I make a movie for the fans, I've also got to make it friendly to the general audience when they bring their significant others and their kids who've not seen a lot of these characters yet and so forth, that I want to bring into the fold, right? Again, this movie had so much in it, and as a longtime Superman fan, I was catching all the references. Your average audience isn't going to get that. I think there's going to be a lot of questions. I even saw, you know what? I'm gonna shout out Sin's Corner. I caught her. I referenced her review in the Friday night stream. She mentions a bit where a character talks about Superman having hypnoglasses to make you believe, Clark Kent and Superman are two different people. It makes you forget what, Clark Kent looks like or Superman or whatever. I don't remember. And that was a deep dive. Sasha from Casually Comics actually talked about the hypnoglasses last year, talking about a one-shot where they were trying to explain away the Superman glasses thing as hypnotizing glasses, which is absolutely not necessary. And it comes across, okay, a little minor spoiler. It was Guy Gardner who was saying this. Oh, do you hear about the hypnoglasses? And he says it as though, honestly, to me, it sounded like a conspiracy theory type, thing. Did you hear about the, whatever, this, that, and the other? I don't want to say any real ones because, I'm already pushing it with this video. But I do plan to do a video about the Superman, Clark Kent, glasses, no glasses thing. I think it's about time. I'm getting really tired of people not understanding how that could work and would work. And I will prove it to you with actual science. I will make you think that Clark Kent is not Superman. That's a video I'm working on. I hope to have it done. I think maybe to say by next week might be pushing it, but I'm going to try. And I am also trying to get an ongoing project going on this channel. I started it, didn't like how it began. I'm going to try a different tact. I want to do a series called Fixing the DC Cinematic Universe. This is not what I'm suggesting that needs to happen right now. This is me projecting myself back into an alternate 1990-ish era, and how if DC had started sooner, they could have blown Marvel out of the water before Marvel even got started. How they should have shaped their cinematic universe. Anyway, that is all I've got to say. I hate that I can't say goodbye to you directly because you're not here, or I'm not here, really, if you want to really get into it. But I appreciate you for stopping by and enjoying liquid lunch with each other while I am trying to get my foot fixed. You guys are really wonderful. You guys really are why I do this. Please leave a like, because I know I'm going to get a lot of negs, and I'm going to be feeling a lot like Clark. I'm going to mess that camera up. Let me fix that. I'm going to be feeling a lot like Clark when he realizes everyone's turning on him. You know, it really does hurt. You know, people have feelings. So, so guys, that's it. Later tonight for you, member stream, we're going to get a Clue redo because I screwed it up last week. So, so members, we will be watching Clue. For a few of you, we'll be watching it again, but for the vast majority of you, this is your opportunity that I failed you on last week. So that is it for Liquid Lunch today. Wish me luck. Take care, everyone. I'll see you on the next one.
Goodbye. Hope to see you again real soon.
So here's to the daylight, the drinks and the fun, our liquid lunch, till the next one comes. With a wink and a smile, we'll be back real soon, chasing that jazz under the high.